Well, the New South Wales State Government today confirmed an inquiry will be held into Greyhound Racing. Leah Drake, who was the inaugural Integrity Commissioner at the Law Enforcement Conduct Commission, also served on the Fair Work Commission. She's been appointed Acting Commissioner of the New South Wales Greyhound Welfare and Integrity Commission, known as GWIC, and she will lead this independent inquiry. Racing Minister David Harris confirmed the inquiry would look into greyhound welfare and the care of greyhounds by the governing body, Greyhound Racing New South Wales, including adoption and rehoming programs, the body's processes and management, including procurement and recruitment practices, its reporting and accuracy in relation to greyhounds, and management's response to complaints or concerns about organisational and workplace culture and conduct. Mr Harris said in a statement that he was absolutely committed to ensuring a competitive, responsible and sustainable greyhound racing industry with the highest standards of animal welfare and integrity. It's important that the governing bodies and senior leadership of the racing codes meet these standards. I take these various concerns about Greyhound Racing New South Wales very seriously, and this inquiry, using the full investigative powers of GWIC, will conduct a thorough and wide-ranging review of all relevant issues. He also had this to say at a press conference.
What we need to do is let the inquiry look into these issues and give recommendations back to the government about how we can change the licence conditions if necessary, or implement improvements to ensure that we have best practice.
No doubt many in the industry will be tonight worried, depending on the results of this inquiry, that a ban could well be back on the cards. Now, as I said last night, the trigger for this is a letter from the Greyhound Racing New South Wales former chief vet, which was sent to the governing body in June, claiming that rehoming rates had been inflated, dogs were racing too much, causing too many injuries, and that they were left to live out their miserable post-racing lives in industrial kennels, quote unquote. Some of the allegations, including those relating to veterinary care, warranted further investigation, according to a response by GWIC that was tabled in State Parliament this week, but it also dismissed others as wrong, including that hundreds of dog deaths had been hidden. The Chief Executive of Greyhound Racing New South Wales also resigned this week. Now, while this investigation may focus on the governing body itself rather than the entire industry, here's what David Harris said were in the terms of reference.
The accuracy and reporting by Greyhound Racing New South Wales in relation to greyhounds, and whether that reporting represents the true state of the greyhound racing industry, including the welfare of greyhounds and the state of related programs under Greyhound Racing New South Wales control, awareness and oversight.
That's despite GWIC already dismissing concerns about things like death numbers being wrong. And of course, if the investigation were to find that the governing body had covered things up, that would tend to suggest problems in the industry at large that needed covering up, which may well open the door to trouble for the entire industry and not just the governing body. And any sort of problems within the post-racing rehoming program could also be a trigger for activists to pursue another ban. Whatever the inquiry uncovers, animal activists will use what are most likely rare cases to push for a ban on greyhound racing. And in a sick sort of way, these people actually want bad things to happen so they can help bolster their argument. The industry that I know has little to worry about in an inquiry, and anyone who does not take their responsibility towards their animals seriously deserves to be named and shamed. Any kind of mismanagement or misbehaviour deserves to be exposed for the good of the sport and the welfare of the animals. But you'd be foolish to think that activists with an axe to grind will not try to hijack this inquiry. The Greens have a policy of banning all racing. Now, if this inquiry uncovers any mistreatment or shoddy practices among a few bad apples, the Greens and their ilk will almost certainly use it to push for a ban. These activists peddle the lie that horses and dogs are just disposable machines for the profit of owners. But I can assure you, as someone who owns both, that I generally spend much more than I make in prize money because I love the sport and these marvellous athletic animals, as do all the participants I know. They get into racing because they love the sport and they love the animals. Now, yes, There will always be bad apples, but there are bad apples everywhere. You cannot, on the basis of their behaviour, besmirch an entire industry. That's what the activists will try to do, though. New South Wales Premier Chris Minns yesterday said that he would not ban greyhound racing, and whatever the results of this inquiry, he has to stick to his guns. The one insurance policy against a ban is that Minns isn't stupid, and he'd well know, especially after watching what happened to Mike Baird when he tried to ban greyhound racing in 2016, that a ban would be electoral poison for Labor in the regions. But the noise will be loud, and the activists will fight hard. Now, like many involved in racing, I welcome an inquiry, but we must be careful that it is used to improve the industry and not turned into a witch hunt. As I said last night, greyhound racing mightn't be as popular as horse racing, but that makes it an easy target for activists and an easy sacrificial lamb for governments that want to shut them up. Sacrificing the dogs would open a much, much bigger problem.